What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Old Cranky Man Collectibles channel. My name is Rugley, joined here today by my co-host Penty Het
Hello,
for
it's
another
me. Yes,
episode. I think this is like the 56th episode, I want to say, of the podcast. That's crazy.
it's a lot. We've
56. I
done
could be wrong.
we've pushed
56,
out
56, 55, 57. It's something like that. That's nuts.
some real bangers.
Yeah,
We've
so if you
pushed
haven't
out.
done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn those notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. So, Stefan,
Blake.
there's a really cool thing going on in our community right now.
Yeah.
This group of these three, like basically legendary dudes, formed this. What are they called? The points panel.
The Discord points panel hereafter called the points panel, just because they are not just in the Discord, but they are largely active in the Discord.
And these three individuals are who?
Cyclops 8, Impulse 27, who you might know as the Jeskai Master, and then Vast.
Yes. Okay, so
these people are very active in the community.
They totally are. And the points panel. What is the points panel's job? What are they doing?
So if you're familiar at all with Commander and how there is a Commander's advisory, the CAG, Commander Advisory Group,
Yep.
This is effectively the advisory group to the actual counselors for Canadian.
Okay, so these guys aren't making decisions. They're
No.
talking to the community. They're engaging with us. They're gathering data. And they just did this really cool survey thing that we're actually going to go over today. These guys are collecting all of this and they're funneling it back to the council members, right? The people that actually make the decisions about the format. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are these guys' names again? One more time for me.
Cyclops 8, Impulse 27, and Vast.
Legendary. Love the work you guys are doing.
Cyclops, Impulse, and Vast.
So, like I said, they recently did this survey, and then about, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, they published this really nice article on the...
about a week and a half, actually.
It was quick turnaround. Published this article about that data. So we are going to go over that now. I'm going to bring it up on the screen so that everybody at home can see it.
Yeah, nice Lorian revealed art.
Here it is.
That tag yourself. I'm Samwise.
So... YouTube, you can see that on your screen now. We are just going to go over this kind of one section at a time. Stefan has done us the great favor of paraphrasing a lot of this. So take it away, Stefan.
So we're gonna start with the overall sentiment, which is this is sort of a largely anecdotal, and a lot of this is because it's done by a survey, right? So everybody's giving their opinion. We had 167 people do the survey, Blake and myself included. We completed it. The big takeaway from this survey about the overall sentiment of the format is, of those respondent, over 95%, that is 97.6% of respondents, reported that they enjoyed the format. Now, generally speaking, these are people that are invested in the format enough to take a survey, but the fact that they took the survey and then expressed that they do enjoy it, that they're not just here to complain about things, and while they have ideas for it, they are still really enjoying it. 97.6%. That is a huge amount of people that are enjoying the format from people that took the survey.
Yeah.
So obviously people really like it. Positive feedback there. The bigger thing to me is of those 167%. 90% said that they are satisfied or happy with the metagame, and this is where most other formats cannot hold a candle.
Yeah, so it was 62% stated that they were happy, and then 28% felt neutral. So 90% of people did not have something bad to say about the metagame.
Yep, I would put that up against any other format in Magic: The Gathering.
Oh yeah, that's insane to me. I honestly kind of want to know the percentiles for both Modern and Legacy, because I would guess that it's sub 40.
I currently or historically? Because currently it's got to be.
Currently.
Oh, it's got to be like 15.
Really, you think it's that low?
Oh, absolutely. Even people that are playing Nadu right now are like it's Boros Energy and Nadu are the basically the two decks in the format.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that people that are playing modern right now that are playing one of those two decks that are just kind of over it. They're like just they're waiting for it. Little looking how the sausage is made. It is currently before August 26th as we record this.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So yes, this video does not actually come out until September 9th. So that is a good point
yeah,
to make. So hopefully something has changed by then. But we're not here to talk about modern. We're here to
no,
talk
no, no,
about
no.
Canadian Highlander. And yeah,
Sure,
it's wonderful that the sentiment is that people are
I love
generally
it.
enjoying the format and they think they like the current metagame. So let's move on to the
Yeah.
next section. That is the size of the points list and frequency of the points updates. What do you got,
Mhm.
Stefan?
This is where things start to divide a little bit. The most divisive issue is that a lot of people believe that there needs to be more cards added to the list. And a lot of people, that is to say, it's about 50-50, um, desired didn't really want anything done. So about half people really want to add more, about half people are happy with where it is.
Sure.
Having an even split like that is pretty substantial, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, while I agree that I like about where the points list is, I'm in the group of people that do want to add more cards to it.
Sure.
Um, the let's see here. The overall sentiment, generally speaking, is that like there's sort of a divide that either you are on half that is happy or half that really wants to add. A lot of people brought up a couple cards that they were. We'll get to that later about lowering, but most people are in the, like at least half of the people are on the boat of more cards on points list, please. So there's basically a 50-50 divide. How did you answer this, Blake?
So I answered that I like the size of the current point list, and that I would like to see a higher frequency of points updates. So in here they have every 6 months, right?
Yeah, that's the next part that
So
we're gonna get.
unless there is a an emergency change, the bare minimum is every 6 months. So twice a year we
Yeah.
would get points updates. That doesn't feel like enough to me, but doubling it and making it four also feels like too many.
Yeah, it almost pushes people to um, right now the comparing it to how Wizards does it is they have quarterly update or they
Right.
update after every major set, and that honestly feels a little bit too frequent, like where you're not going to see meaningful change or
Yeah,
there's not really.
with the understanding that there are emergency bans for a reason.
Sure,
I
love to see those.
that's basically 4 times a year that you get 4 new sets come out, right? But
Yeah,
I think that feels like too many. I would like at least three. So
yeah,
every 4 months, I think that would be sweet. But I mean, getting a guaranteed change at least twice a year, it's not bad.
yeah. January and June is sort of where we've been sitting recently,
Yeah.
but um, I am of the mind that I think we should add a couple more cards. I want and this was sort of a
There's a bunch of cards like
yeah,
all of them that are on this list we're going to get to in a minute.
yeah,
I would tolerate getting a point.
yeah. We'll get to those in just a second, but yeah, I'm of the mind that I want to see the list increase, not just by these cards, but like more cards than just these, based on ubiquity and power,
Sure.
which is sort of like the two pronged hitch on which I put my horse. Um, the uh, the next part of this is the perceived pain points of the format and most desired points changes. This is like um, this is the point at which people were able to express the decks that they didn't enjoy or that they saw were overpowered in the format.
Sure.
So what were those, Blake?
So the four color good stuff piles
Sure.
and then artifact combo decks, I believe, are also specifically referenced.
Yeah, they said that those were pushing out other combo decks.
Yep.
Um, locally, we haven't seen as many of these.
So I believe they would be talking about the Time Vault deck and then the Paradox Academy deck.
Okay, sure.
We
Yeah.
have seen both of those in small number, but they're still present.
Yeah. but I wouldn't say that they're dominant in any way, or in some way pushing other combo decks out.
Yeah, no, I would largely disagree with that statement.
Yeah, again, this is all anecdotal. This is all like perception rather than truth and data. Which I'm not going to say that anybody is wrong in how they're perceiving the format. This is about your own personal experience. The four color good stuff piles have sort of died off a bit locally. I don't know. We have the four color blood deck
Yeah,
that people
so
play regularly.
right, but it's basically one person or two people at the larger tournaments that are playing that deck. I wouldn't call it dominant, no. I still think the deck is very very good, but
Mhm.
last year around this same time, everybody was playing. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people were playing some combination of Jeskai Green or
Correct. Yeah.
Omniscitive or Spearmint Jeskai or one of these green Jeskai Splash green decks, and a lot of those people have cut one or more colors.
Yeah. And I think we owe some of that to points additions, to putting stuff like Fourth Aerolingus onto the points list.
Sure.
That has increased overall diversity in decks and like reduced the top end power level of those decks as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of points being added, the top 5 cards that people said that they would like to be added to the points list should not shock anyone.
I wouldn't. I
Um,
wouldn't think so.
if any of these shock you, yeah, grab your pearls and put your hand on your hat now. Of the respondents, that is 167 respondents, 49 of those respondents indicated that they would like Minsk and Boo. And keep in mind, you were only allowed to vote for one card.
Yep.
For one card.
One card.
So 49% of respondents said Minsk and Boo above all else deserves a point. Next is the power and ubiquity that is Urza's Saga. This card slots into most decks that have a target in their deck for the 0 or 1 mana artifact. Um, Aside from that, you don't have to do anything else but play this card, and it's going to produce value for you
Yep.
in a way that Control finds difficult to combat. Um, there's no color restrictions. It is just very good. Next up, White Plume Adventurer has seen less play locally recently, but is still sort of the like if you're in
I
white,
still think it's probably in at least 40% of the decks locally.
yeah, it sort of got overshadowed by when we were talking about cards that showed up in a lot of lists by just the premium white removal that goes in all the Jeskai lists
Yep.
that weren't playing White Plume Adventurer.
Yep.
But if you took out the Jeskai decks and you were just like, if you're playing white and creatures, White Plume is probably in there, right?
Sure.
Like still the best with a bullet of all of the initiative creatures, banned in Legacy for a reason.
Yeah, and I mean it's a win condition. Just like any other control finisher. You can
Yeah,
you can once you grind your opponent down to no resources left over, you can play a white plume adventure and win the game just as fast as a Baneslayer Angel.
that is, yeah, and in the way that a Baneslayer Angel dies to removal, the initiative continues to live on.
Yeah, exactly.
um, Next, we have another problematic 4-drop, Planeswalker Comet Stellar Pup. How do you feel about this card?
This was actually the card that I voted for, and
Yep.
so shame on all of you for also not voting for Comet. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so Comet Stellar Pup, I would put pretty strongly out in front of any of these other cards that I would
Mm.
like to see pointed. And it is not because I think the card is too powerful. There are a lot of cards that you can spend 4 mana on and they win the game on the spot. The part that I don't like about it is that sometimes it doesn't do that. This card is all just random, and so it makes it really really hard for a lot of people, myself included, to gauge how powerful the card actually is. So I hated this card for a long time. I thought the card sucked because every time one of my opponents cast it against me, it just made squirrels, and I was not at all impressed. The very first time that I cast this card, I dealt my opponent 8 damage, and I was immediately believer. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, the card definitely deserves a point. If Gifts Ungiven, another 4 mana card that you can cast and frequently win the game on the spot, deserves a point, then I think Comet Stellar Pup most certainly also does.
Yeah, notably, I said that Minskin deserves a point, but in the same breath, they allowed you to write up a little thing. I said that problematic 4-drop planeswalkers that can win that
Yeah,
turn the game
sure.
into a mini game are an issue, and I mentioned Comet by name.
Yeah,
The last card is the One Ring, another problematic 4-drop. This card is interesting in our format, specifically because we're singleton. It doesn't have one of the play patterns that is problematic in other constructed formats, which is your second and third One Ring.
yeah. You just play it to destroy the other one, and oops, I got to reset and draw another card.
Yeah, it and get protection again and
Yeah.
um
The card is
on
still
it,
this card is still insanely good. It
yeah.
is 4 mana, Fog You plus Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, fog you. Also, you can't target me with hand attack. Also, you can't bolt me. Also, like
Yeah,
the
it's a Teferi's Protection, I guess, is what it
correct.
is. It's
Yeah,
4 mana Teferi's Protection plus Ancestral Recall.
it's also
Which,
indestructible for some reason.
strangely enough, the total converted mana cost of Teferi's Protection and Ancestral Recall is also 4 mana.
Interesting. I like the idea of like the guy who's like aliens. It's the
So,
conspiracy is
yeah.
made true.
All of that being said, I think that all of these cards, I could get a point, and I would know why.
I would not shed a single tear.
So frequently, when you play one of these cards in a game of Magic, the game immediately becomes about that card,
Yep.
and like it's not just these cards. There are a lot of other cards that do a very, very similar thing, but I feel like these are the 5 cards that have this happen the easiest, I guess.
Yeah,
I would also add Seasoned Dungeoneer to this deck, probably above the One Ring,
I do. Yeah, seasoned engineer
and
also a problem.
Caves of Chaos Adventurer and Undermountain Adventurer are slightly less good than Seasoned Dungeoneer, but it's close.
Yeah, those just the fact that seasoned engineer has the pseudo unblockable text, almost better than unblockable, right? It can give another creature
Yeah.
unblockable. The it clearly was not designed well.
So, I mean, honestly, I think the card is actually sweet.
Oh, it's
I
great.
just don't love the mechanic.
It's
Um,
great for commander.
I think like I don't know, make you the monarch, and then I like the card a lot.
Yeah, another messed up.
Anyway, we got sidetracked again.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
so yeah, I would put Seasoned Engineer above the One Ring.
I think, but again, like any of those cards, eating a point, we
Would
give
not be
those.
surprised. Yep.
Yeah, and we wouldn't shed a tear. So kind of on the opposite spectrum here, we have in the survey. This is sort of cool. People voted on cards they would like to down point as well. Of the 167 people, again, you were only allowed to vote for one card that you would reduce in points. A vast plurality, that is to say, 54 respondents said none.
Me.
We don't want to reduce anything.
I said none.
I was also on the none list. I am comfortable with not reducing points or removing cards at this time. Of the cards that did have a recommended reduction, the top was Strip Mine. 24 respondents wanted to reduce Strip Mine from 2 to 1 point. Notably, this would remove the last 2-pointed card from the list. There would no longer be a 2-pointed card in Canadian Highlander.
I don't love Strip Mine at 1.
I think the idea is that they want to juice up land stacks, and I get that.
It doesn't juice up land stacks. It juices up monocolor decks.
That just get to slam Strip Mine and Ancient Tomb. Let's just call it like it is. Travis's style of decks would just okay, cool. I now have.
I mean, your deck,
sure.
mono green, mono red.
Yeah.
You're juicing those decks.
Yeah.
Because right now, what is mono red spread? It's just Lotus Ruby, right?
Yeah, it is just
okay. So what if you got to play a Strip Mine? How does that change? How does that change what you want to play of your points?
Well, you wouldn't be able to if it was 1 point.
I know. That's what I'm saying is do you start thinking about it? If you can play Strip Mine for a point. Really?
I don't think so.
Man.
I wouldn't in mono green, I wouldn't like I tried a different point spread and I went back to Lotus Mox, and I would never change it. Like if anything else went up, I just cut it.
Did you think about it for like at least a second though?
No.
God damn it! All right, keep going down this stupid list. I don't like strip mine at 1. Whatever.
To me, it's sort of a card. All right, so the reason, and we'll circle back on this, but the reason I would be comfortable, I wouldn't cry over strip mine going to 1, is because I think it should be done at the same time that other cards are increased or added to the points list.
No, let's be honest. You don't care about strip mine going to 1 because I only play basic lands.
It's true. I do play a lot of but strip mine kills basic lands.
I don't care.
I should be afraid of this thing. I should be shaking my boots, but I'm in green and I don't care. The next card is Survival. This Survival of the Fittest there was a conversation on the Discord locally. We talked about its power, and we were sort of split locally, half and half on either thinking Survival should go to 0 or thinking it's fine at 1. I'm of the mind that it's fine at 1. If people are wanting it at 0, they largely, and this is going to be a theme. Okay, so Blake and I had a small conversation. I think a lot of people that look at any of these cards and think that they should be removed from the points list entirely, and I don't mean strip mine to 1. I mean removing from the list entirely. Either 1, have never played with them probably, 2, have never played against them, or 3, have played with them in matchups where they do not perform optimally. That is to say, like if you play another card next down is like Thassa's Oracle. This one was an emergency increase to 7.
Yeah.
This one, it could come down in points, and I wouldn't be super upset about it. But again, I'm talking about things coming off the points list entirely. So
a True Name Nemesis and Gifts Ungiven are the other 2 that are on here.
Yeah.
So these 3, what you're saying is any one of these 3 cards, somebody that would vote for this to come off is either never played against it, or what did you say? They've never played against it. They've had a bad experience playing it. What was the third thing?
Or they've played it in matchups where it is suboptimal.
What about people that are just selfish and want their card to come off the points list?
Those I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt.
You don't think that people would be like, yes, give me this free Gifts Ungiven.
It
wasn't me. It was not me. I said no changes. I'm just saying.
Never ever would I say Gifts Ungiven to 0. I know what that card can do. Fail to Find is a powerful mode. And then like True Name Nemesis, I'm sorry, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, true. Right. I would put True Name Nemesis above. I would put it above. I would put it above or right next to White Plume Adventure.
I agree.
As far as how powerful it is,
we've literally had this conversation.
Again, the game almost immediately becomes about True Name Nemesis, and
you have to play around it,
and your rules still apply because like you can draw a True Name Nemesis super duper late in the game and already be dead on board, and it does absolutely nothing. That doesn't mean the card is not worth its point.
Exactly. You playing it and having a bad experience with it. It's a 100 card singleton, so like oftentimes you're going to draw these cards in a bad situation, bad matchup, bad time in the game, or you're just not going to see them at the right time. But when you finally do, you like something's going to click in your brain, and you're going to go, "Oh, that's what I do to people. I get it."
Yeah.
The only cards that I see defensible is reducing Strip Mine to 1. I think it would be okay, and Thoracle coming down to 6. I would be tentative to see how that does. 7 to 6 isn't a huge reduction as far as like points. It's still 60% of the points in your deck, and it would still have to be your primary game plan, right?
Yeah.
I would be okay to see that at 6. That is a reasonable response to the question.
Yeah, I think it opens up some because Demonic Tutor just came down as well.
Yeah,
so it lets you play Thoracle, Demonic Tutor, and Tainted Pact, and I actually think that sounds like a pretty sweet point spread for a blue black control deck.
I agree.
Just like in a similar way to how Jeskai Slushy functions like a control deck that just wins on the spot. I think that it would be really sweet to see the Thoracle deck perform in a similar way.
I'd like to see like a Grixis Reanimator control deck that has, you know, Thassa's Oracle as the win con of the deck. If you're not just like,
Okay, if you want to do that with like stuff with like unearth and stuff,
yeah,
I think if you're gonna do that, like having like Thoracle, Intuition, Demonic Tutor, or you could go Thoracle, Intuition,
oh,
Gifts
you're just really high
Ungiven.
on intuition right
Well,
now.
no, if you want to do that, like you can build piles that will just win on the
Oh
spot.
yeah, exactly, and
So
it's an
if you want to,
easy.
yeah, if you want to reanimate the Thassa's Oracle, I think you could do better than Demonic Tutor.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to be locked into those points. But I think the deck is sort of like it's a cool deck, and I think underexplored largely because Thassa's Oracle is 7 points.
Yeah, a 7 pointed card is very very limiting in what you can combo it with.
Yeah, you basically need to A, not need to do anything else with your points, or B, have it be your entire game plan. 7 pointed cards are restrictive in that way.
Yeah, very much so.
So yeah, this I do want to come around on this, and like this is something you and I were talking about, and this is a thing that was sort of discussed earlier in the article. It's that there is a level of dissatisfaction within the community regarding pet cards or cards that people love, former staples in the format, sort of being phased out. Newer powerful cards are
Right.
getting printed, and people
Right.
just feel like they can't play these older cards. Um, and to that, I think my big response is that a this is a single 100 card singleton format. Um, find room for it. If there's a card that you genuinely love, and it is passable in power level, I think you should play it. Find room for it.
I to those people, I asked the question: what do you care about more, uh, playing a card you love or winning?
Uh, I think that is a fair question to ask, and I hope I hope that winning
If
in
you
the
can
way
answer that question honestly, then you won't need to change any cards in your deck, or feel like, or you won't feel like that.
you won't feel the need any longer. Don't give
Right.
into pressure. Don't give in to people telling you that you're making suboptimal decisions. That being said, um, it is of my opinion that I think not just the 5 cards that were presented here today should be added to the points list. I think the points list should be broader and deeper in general, because as more cards are being printed and the power level increases, the ubiquity in the high power cards is going to increase. People are going to cut older cards and replace them with the new powerful cards. And to combat that, pointing needs to keep up, because people shouldn't in our format have to make the decision between optimal deck building and playing the cards that they love. I don't think that should be a choice that people have to make in this format. And if we're genuinely looking at the power level of cards and saying, you know, Minsc and Boo is too powerful to not be a point, and Comet is too powerful to not be a point, there are, you know, this is just the 5, and people were only given one card that they could answer.
Right. How many more would people add onto their list if they could?
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like, if you're only given one slot, you're gonna, you know, there's no ranked decision here. That's that,
That
and
would
that's sort of
be that would be okay. So that would be like how would you go about capturing that data? Like where you want to know that your own personal list of 5 cards,
Mhm.
but you also need to weight them against like what's like the worst, what's number 1 and what's number 5. You got to rank them. Like
Sure.
how would you collect that data? Just go
Uh,
here, respond to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order, 5 cards.
I think the easy way to look at it is just overall. Like, we have pretty comprehensive data collection at this point, where we can conclusively say what decks are performing the best consistently and what cards are being included in basically every deck. And I said earlier in the podcast, and I say it's pretty often because I think it's pretty catchy, that ubiquity and power are the two are the handholds of cards that should be on the points list or increase in points. If we see a card that is getting play in every deck, That is ubiquity, and if it is singularly powerful and game ending, that is a thing to consider as well. Obviously, cards that are checks against powerful cards aren't what I'm talking about. I don't mean Path to Exile or Swords of Plowshares.
What about fetch lands?
I'm not even talking about fetch lands. Like these are ubiquity. Like while there's
So
ubiquity in fetch lands,
their ubiquity is justified. Then you think?
I believe so. Like justified ubiquity beyond, because I don't think fetch lands are game are can a fetch land cannot win a game on its own generally,
Well, I mean,
right?
fetch lands are why the 4-color deck exists.
True, but I think that the power level of the individual cards within those four color decks is something we have to meter beyond just lands.
So
Is it?
it's not the fact that you're playing 4-color deck. It's not the fact that you're playing 4 colors, and you have the greediest mana base possible. It's the fact that you get to play the best cards from every color, and you don't have to play any of the stinkers.
Yeah, that's sort of, I would argue the opposite direction, which is that people are being pushed into four colors because all of these powerful cards exist within those four colors.
Sure.
Yeah, if you want to win and you just want to play all the best cards, and they're and you can, physically, then that deck does not have enough points utilized against it to limit people from doing that.
Yeah. I mean, another thing, like closing out on the fetch land thing,
Sure.
that while it would probably ease the grip that those 4-color decks seem to have, it would also be very bad for every single deck that is more than one color.
Yeah, you're not limiting.
You would do so much damage
it would be damage to everything.
to multicolored mana bases in general if you did that. So
The format would effectively become monocolored decks only.
well, I don't know about that, but I mean, you can play what 11 fetch lands at most, 10% of your deck, so you're likely to have one of those in every 10 cards.
Yeah, at that point, just ban cards.
They
though.
don't. Yeah, they don't affect your deck that much. That was more or less just
Yeah,
just an exercise in what ubiquity is and what it's not.
sure. Yeah, exactly. That I think uh, individual game pieces that are part of generating the resource to play the powerful cards aren't necessarily, and obviously I'm not referring to something like Moxen, which obviously are pointed because they break like fetch lands don't break our resource system in half. They're very powerful and they
Right.
bend it, but Moxen and Lotus break our resource in half.
Yeah. You're
Even
right.
even stuff like Chrome Mox and Mox Diamond, I know that a lot of players locally are advocating for pointing because they do bend those resource rules in such a way that they do create non games, especially early. Like you get them out fast, and if those cards caught a point, I would also not cry over that. I would just go, yeah, that's you are now incentivizing people to make decisions in deck building that are more meaningful. That are like, is your deck truly about fast mana? Are you actually wanting to do this, or were you running it because it was so powerful that there was no reason not to?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Ancient Tomb got
Uh-huh.
pointed, right? Anyway, that's my whole tirade. I feel like I kind of gone off on a tangent here.
No, you didn't actually. Uh, that was great. So one section left. That's just a conclusion.
Sure. Um, the there was, and this is sort of the big thing that I do want to kind of, we can raise our glasses and tip our hats a little bit to this, is that a lot of people criticized Eternal format price of entry. That is to say, when you play a vintage format, there are vintage cards, and vintage cards cost vintage money. A Black Lotus at its cheapest is like 10 grand right now. So if you want to play a Lotus deck, that's a lot of money. And Blake, what do we offer locally?
All the proxies you can ask for. It's all you can eat proxies down at the Lawnlander buffet.
Yum 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 yum. Yeah, and that was sort of the sentiment that was repeated from the community in this survey, is that the amount of thanks and happiness over allowance of proxies in the format is overwhelming and positive, and people have nothing but good things to say about it. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Our faces are back up here now.
oh hey,
Yeah. Proxies are fantastic, and if it gets people to come out and try the format out, I think that that's great, and so there's no reason to
yeah.
not do that.
we've said this as much before, where like we know players that have invested real money in real cards after having played a bunch of decks
Yeah,
and found what they loved.
yeah.
Um, and then we'll experiment with new things later as well because they don't feel like they have a financial investment
Mm-hmm.
in trying it out. I mean, being able to play everything regardless of your wallet size is what we're about.
100%. Yeah, sweet. What are what? Give me those three legendary dudes' names again. Who are the guys that are on our points panel?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Cyclops, Impulse, and Vast. Vast is actually the one who wrote the article. Big kudos to Barney Miller. Really appreciate it. That
Bravo,
was
great work.
really impressive
I
work.
love
Quick turnaround.
love what you're doing out there. Seriously,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I do want to remind the community that like these people don't do this for any money. This is just a passion project. They love the format as much as you, I, or anyone. And if you're going to interact with them, be respectful. Know that they are just a voice and an ear, and they are kind and generous people for doing what they're doing for us.
Oh yeah, excellent, sweet. Anything else you want to say about the community engagement survey 2024?
I would love to see the next one. I'm very
Hell
excited for
yeah.
this.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
very
What about
sweet.
you?
What I mean, yeah, big same. What other format in Magic the Gathering does something like this? None of them.
Yeah, Popper I think is the closest.
Canadian Highlander rules. Play more Canadian Highlander. Listen, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn those notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. And with that out of the way, we just want to remind you that
We're
we're
proud
proud
of
of you.
you.
Bye.